Thanks for joining us for the February 10th, 2023 episode of Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Dennis, and I'll be your host as we recap the latest super news that caught our attention across the multiverse. But as the show title suggests, it'll probably be mostly Marvel. Later in this episode, we'll be putting a spotlight on the 2015 Ant-Man movie. But before that, we'll be getting in some QA with the gang that signed on to watch it with me. For those of you tuning in, don't be shy. We love hearing from you in the comments. And if you can't get enough of us, you should visit patreon.com/denxmedia, where you'll find a variety of creative offerings, including recent episodes of our live after show, The Soapbox. Patrons get exclusive access to chat with us, but if that's not your thing, don't worry. We release it to the public at a later date. Okay, I got those formalities out of the way. I always got to do it. Now that that's out of the way, let's get everyone out here. First up, let's see if he likes this one. He's the Stimpy to my Ren. It's Ricky.
I never really liked that show as a kid. It just always looked sticky. It was a sticky looking show.
It looks sticky.
Am I wrong?
I mean, there's a lot of boogers and stuff like that for sure.
It was like a gross show.
All right,
I was a clean boy.
I thought it was a pretty good comparison, but we'll see. All right, I'm gonna get our other guest out here, or our guest out here, so that he's not sitting in the back just laughing at you right now. All right, next up, if you need an overly thought out D&D character for your campaign, just name the time and place, and he'll be there. It's Jason.
It's like that. I was hoping for the intro of something like I'm the Dr. Dre to your MC Ren. I thought that would have been cool, but I'll take it.
Does that imply there's beef? Right?
I mean, Dennis and I have been known to go at it, but I still love to do it.
That's a crime from one perspective.
Wait, when you say go at it, what do you mean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, sir.
Nice.
That's what I mean.
Welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks, man.
Two things. One, Ricky. I think I failed to mention this last week, but you know how I number these episodes and stuff, and you know, this show's before this show there was the Mandalorian podcast. Do you know that we've done over 100 episodes?
Really? Have we hit that mark?
We did. We actually hit it last week or 2 weeks ago. Unless you count the I mean, those are videos, but if you count,
that's more of a testament to you. I've only been a part of a fraction of those.
No, you've been part of all of them.
I was all of spoken, but I haven't done every episode of this show.
Okay, sure. You've maybe missed like three episodes ever.
I missed a few. Count.
Take the credit. Just take the credit. But then while I was looking back, because I like to try and find thumbnails, I realized Coke, you haven't been on this show for like a hot minute, man.
Where did we have you?
Oh, wow.
It was like episode 37, and we're on episode 87.
Did we have Coker for Falcon?
Was that Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I think was one of the last times you were on the show.
This is number 3 for me, I think.
I mean, you did a lot in that first.
I remember having you on Mando.
Yeah, definitely did a Mandalorian.
Yeah, we did a Mando, and I think we did. There was something. There was something.
The first one.
Was it Loki? Did you do a Loki? I don't remember.
I think it was pre-Loki. It was fairly early.
WandaVision.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think you did a WandaVision. Maybe not.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
I still haven't watched that whole series.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. Like we try and get a lot of guests on, you know, to be a recurring kind of thing, but it's like for some reason Ricky just had a ban on you for like a year, a solid year. He's like,
I mean, our grief, you know, the beef between Ricky and I has never really been a secret. But I mean, the bottom line is he wishes he could quit me, but he can't. It's just how it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was executive override on you being a guest today. So
Thank you, Dennis.
Executive override. With that said, I mean, I don't really need to catch up with you because I see you pretty much every week. But for anyone listening, like, what have you been nerding out on lately?
I'm on that Hogwarts, man. I'm playing
yeah?
Hogwarts Legacy. I haven't been going as hard in the paint as I would like to because time and life, but it is it's very impressive. I would recommend that people stay away from the hype because it tends to be either this game is the second coming, or it is reinventing gaming and there's never been anything like it. Something kind of extreme. In my opinion, it's a very good game so far, but I think people should avoid listening to too much hype and just check it out.
So here's the question. If you don't like Harry Potter, is it a good game?
I think so, yeah. I mean, if you like action RPGs, if you like creating objects, like there's potion making, there's just all kinds of really cool combat and interesting spells that are not necessarily tied to. I mean, the school is the Harry Potter thing, but there's magic, there's crafting, there's really cool kind of RPG staples in the game that I like. I mean, I'm not the most hardcore Harry Potter person. I haven't read all the books, I haven't seen all the movies, but it's pretty slick. I'm enjoying it.
All right.
I used to in grade school watch the movies and then take the star reading tests to see if I can get the points, and I never passed.
Oh snap!
So
snap. Reading is fundamental, Rich.
Was that due to like a deficiency or something? Have you been diagnosed?
I haven't, and I mean, I never really enjoyed reading, and as I grew older, I think there may have been a condition that was missed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh snap!
I definitely think there was at least one condition.
Yeah. But
you are the Snoopy Tim I ran.
Yep.
What about you, Ricky? What have you been nerding out on?
I just watched The Last of Us that came out today. They pushed it up to Friday due to the big game, right?
Oh, they
say
did?
the other thing. Yeah, it's out right now.
Oh wow. Man.
I get why they moved it up because
zero viewership.
A downer.
Yeah.
Have you been watching that show, Coke?
I watched the first episode and then I hit the brakes because I want to watch it with my daughters. And one watched the first episode, and then I'll start from the second episode when the other daughter watches it, probably tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow.
Well, now you got me excited to get this show over with really quick, Ricky, so that we can.
I mean, it's there. It hasn't missed that show. But yeah, it's definitely like the game, not a very bright, a bright piece of media. So.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I did enjoy the one episode that I've seen. I thoroughly enjoyed because I was just mapping stuff one to one from the game into it was mind blowing how much they really captured.
As the only person on here with a daughter, yes, I can imagine.
I think either the first or second episode is directed by one of the guys who created the game.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really cool. I thoroughly am enjoying that show as well. Obviously, episode 4 was not as powerful for me as episode 3. Episode 3 will go down as one of the greatest pieces of TV media of 2023 for sure.
Whoa.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it is that good.
It is that good. Yeah.
I also watched the assembled. Right. That's what they called the making of Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Equally as good. They really kind of dissect a lot of the creative choices they made with Namor and just with the whole situation with losing Chadwick.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating because you see like obviously there's a lot of grief there, but you also are tasked with making a movie, and sometimes those things can't go hand in hand.
But you can use the grief. You can use it to make something beautiful, which I think that movie is something really beautiful. Have you seen it, Coker?
Yeah, it was a beautiful dedication to him.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of interviews with some of the actors, and they talked about it and said, they did give them room to grieve, but making the movie was also part of the grieving process for a lot of them, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a. I have not rewatched it yet on Disney Plus.
I haven't either. Got to do that.
I've been meaning to, but I've just been busy binging. I'm still binging that 70s show, man. I can't stop. I finally got to the last season, which is really awkward because like the main character left the show, like Topher Grace left the show, and they replaced him with a new character that's played by, I found out it's Seth Meyers' younger brother. And he's just some random guy named Randy, and I'm like, well, now I'm not as interested in watching this anymore. Like I got hooked on it because of that 90s show. And I rewatched 70s show, and it's actually way better than I remember it being. But yeah, I might finish it sometime soon. But today I actually picked up the first episode of the new season of You. I love that show. I love that show so much, and I feel gross about how much I love that show. Do you know what that show is, Coker?
I just know the name. I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it.
It's about a guy that's just like obsesses over women and ends up killing a lot of people to try and. It's kind of like Dexter, but without any, I guess, positive attributes. I don't know. Like it's.
Is this your biopic?
Like horny Dexter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like horny Dexter, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I love it. It's on Netflix. But it just came back, season 4, and he's moved to Europe because like he's burned basically his entire life in America, and now he's starting it all over again, obsessing over a new person, and it's really
big names in it.
No, not really big names in it. But like Penn Badgley, I think is the character's name, and there's a lot of rumors that he might be Mr. Fantastic, and that would be fantastic because I think he's a great actor, and he's also really great at playing a cold sociopath. So, which is pretty on point for Mr. Fantastic.
After last bit of news for me, after 3 years, I finally got a win in Call of Duty Warzone. I did it with my team.
Nice.
It's so much harder to get a win in that game than Fortnite. And I felt like you can just feel it coming on when there's like 10 people left, and we did it. And there were cheers emanating from my mic and in my household about this accomplishment.
That's hilarious. Awesome.
3
Congratulations. With the chit chat out of the way, I think you want to get to some nerdy news.
Let's get some nerdy news. Woo! First on the docket.
What the hell am I looking at?
You're looking at Marvel's Moon Girl, soon to be coming to Disneyland near you.
That's Moon Girl. It is Moon Girl, isn't it?
She's based off the upcoming show that's, I believe, due out at the beginning of next month. The Moon Girl and Double Dinosaur show. Interesting thing to note is she will be available for photos in the Hollywood portion of California Adventure, not in Avengers Campus, because she's not an Avenger. So she's been relegated to the Hollywood side.
Awkward.
But nonetheless, superheroes in the park, always cool.
Are they going to get a Devil Dinosaur to go around with her?
No, he's too expensive.
Okay, fine.
But not too expensive for Amazon. A Spider-Man noir show is in the works for Prime Video. Live action Spider-Man noir show.
That doesn't have anything to do with Peter Parker.
Correct. The series will be based in the 1930s, take place in its own universe, and will not feature Peter Parker.
Which is weird because that's literally who Spider-Man Noir is.
It's a Peter Parker?
Yes.
Like, what if they spell it weird?
No, it's spelled Peter Parker.
What if they call him Parker Peter?
I mean, we'll see. It's just
Like,
the whole
what is Spider-Man Noir anyway? Like, is he just a Spider-Man in the 30s, or does he have a
Yes.
different power set?
No, same power set. It's just like, what if Peter Parker existed in the 30s instead of now? And not just him, but his entire rogues gallery, you know? And so it's just a lot of reinterpretations in that noir aesthetic. That's all it is. It was really just an Elseworlds kind of story to just like reimagine what everybody would look like and function like in a pulpy, black and white kind of noir story. And so this one doesn't know how to make web shooters, but he does know how to rock some pistols.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's got guns and he's got wall crawling and super strength. But
Well,
it is Peter Parker. It is.
Pivoting to Noir real quick, I just saw this come in right before we started recording. Warren Beatty returns as Dick Tracy in a TMC special today.
What?
Yeah, this just came out. I just saw this up. But apparently there's
TMZ or TMC?
TCM, sorry, Turner Classic Movies.
Oh. He's doing a sequel or he's
It seems like it's like an interview with Warren Beatty, but he's in character as Dick Tracy.
okay.
Well, you said TCM or WTF? I'm confused.
Yeah, I think they're both, depending on what service you subscribe to.
Okay.
But
I don't
always
know
love for
I
that
don't
movie
know-
here.
I don't know what we're supposed to say to that.
I mean, aren't we all Dick Tracy fans?
I do love that movie. It's great, but I don't know. How old is Warren Beatty now? He's like 80 something, 90.
Yeah, he's pretty old.
I don't want
85-year-old man.
I don't want to see an 85-year-old Dick Tracy.
No, that would pull you out of the magic.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's
about
bring
you,
you
Coke?
back in.
Wait, what Coke? Do you have anything to say about any of the weird things that Ricky's shown us just now? Ricky's just kind of
So
trucking through.
I've said it before, and I'll throw in the disclaimer on this one. Also, I'm not like hardcore comic Marvel dude. I enjoy entertainment. I enjoy the pop culture aspects of the universe that is the movies and the TV programming. But I don't have the deep knowledge, and I don't know who Moon Girl is. But when that image popped up on the screen, I instantly thought, "Oh, is this why is Ricky showing a new Sesame Street character?"
It did look like Sesame Street, didn't it?
Big time, bro.
I mean, it's a kids' TV show.
Okay. I was waiting for her to teach me to spell.
Yeah, it's going to be a kids' TV show, and it's based off this weird character that is one of the smartest girls on the planet who forms a telepathic relationship with a giant red T-Rex.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
yeah,
I
Is his
think
name
Lawrence Fishburne plays the Beyonder, or voices the Beyonder in that show.
okay,
Oh, wow.
If that, but
okay.
okay.
I'm not going to knock it. I'll watch it just to see what it's like. But
Do a show about it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think my daughters are young enough for it, but I'd give it a shot because I like so much of what's being done in the Marvel universe. I will give it all a chance.
you don't have to watch MODOK though,
Another
or
one I
Hit
don't
Monkey,
know.
or Hit Monkey.
Pretty terrible.
Well, Dennis, will you give these toys a chance?
I already did. I gave these toys a chance. They're already.
You sprung on the 8-inch Cassie Lang.
Well, she's a Build-A-Figure, so I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, some new Marvel Legends got announced and revealed for pre-order yesterday. I was quite shocked though the ship date on these. This is the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania series. The ship date is August.
Well,
And
this
I'm
movie
like,
was supposed to come out later, right?
Oh,
This movie
okay.
got pushed up.
All right, because it's a big missed opportunity whenever you don't have the toys on shelves right now. You know
It
what I
seems
mean?
real weird.
And so these toys come out in August. It's a mixed wave. It's got a half assortment of comic book characters and a half assortment of movie figures. Some comic ones include Crossfire, who is basically just Marvel's version of Death
Deadshot.
Deadshot, yeah. Deadshot, and then it's got Future Ant-Man, which I don't know anything about it other than what the title suggests, which is Future Ant-Man. It's got a re-release of the Ultron figure from last
Different head
year's.
though.
I think it's a different head, yeah.
Different head, different paint.
Yeah, and then it's got Egghead, who is like just as ridiculous looking as that. I mean, my wife looked at that and she's like, "Who's that Egghead guy?" And I'm like, "That's literally who he is."
It
He's
really
Egghead.
is Egghead. Wow.
Yeah, he's a villain.
As seen in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
No, these are all comic figures. And then switching gears, the movie figures. Obviously, if you're gonna have an Ant-Man movie and a Wasp movie, you gotta have Ant-Man and Wasp figures. And look at the likeness on that Evangeline Lilly.
It's pretty
That
good.
is amazing.
That's pretty
The Paul
impressive.
Rudd doesn't look stupid either.
The Paul Rudd looks all right, but that Evangeline Lilly face printing technology is nuts. And then they have to round it out. There he is, Kang, the Kang figure.
It's a good looking Kang.
And if you collect them all, you build a figure and you get a giant size version of Cassie Lang, aka Stinger. But we know her also in the comics as Stature.
I was pretty surprised that her builder figure comes with multiple hands and the head.
Yeah, it comes with two heads. I think it's just for, they recognize the toy photography game is pretty big. I think it's funny that, since we all know we watched Ant-Man, you can't grow or shrink with the helmet off. But they still wanted to give you a giant size version of the character with the ability to have the actress's face, probably just for photography purposes. Because you could do some funny, forced perspective stuff to make her look the appropriate size. But that is her standing next to Ant-Man, and she looks about, I'm gonna say she's about a 12-inch figure when you put her all together, which is cool. But you know that they get way bigger than that proportionally in the movies, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine. I get a big giant character out of it, and that's cool.
It's pretty cool. You'll probably get some good mileage out of that Kang.
That Kang is amazing looking, dude. I can't even stress how awesome he looks. I am so excited for this entire phase of Marvel that's just going to have this guy just showing everybody all the sides of Kang that I want to see. It's going to be great. Yeah, I'm excited. But those are available for pre-order as of yesterday, I think. And yeah, August. That's so rough. That's rough.
What came in recently?
I did. What's up?
What new ones did you get recently, or that has shipped to you recently?
Oh, the retro X-Men wave has been shipping lately.
Is that the Blob?
No, it's like the Spiral and Multiple Man and Dark Phoenix and stuff like that. Yeah, I got 3 of them in the mail, and I have the other 3 coming. It's 6 figures. But yeah,
3 multiple men.
I got more than 1 multiple man, of course, because you can't not get one. You can't get 1 multiple man. You have to get more than 1 multiple man. But yeah, no, it's a crazy time to be a Marvel Legends collector because they actually, Dan Yoon from the marketing team actually tweeted today, that's not enough. Look out for more Marvel Legends next week. And I'm like, guys, you can't.
You're gonna get a MODOK.
You can't drop a wave on us this week and then tell us next week there's another one. Like
the announcement was, "Hey Dennis, give me all your money."
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. But yeah, time will tell if there's going to be a MODOK in, like included as like a standalone or whatever. Because if you've seen the trailer for Quantumania, there is something that looks like a MODOK in there. And so people are hoping that we get it in toy form.
I'm sorry, man. I don't know who MODOK is. How is that spelled? I want to look this.
MODOK. He is the mental organism designed only for killing.
Oh, I actually I have seen this.
Was that the figure before? What was that, Ricky?
Is it mental or mechanical?
Mental organism designed only for killing. Yeah.
Did you play the Avengers game, Coker?
No, I mean I barely started it.
Just play that campaign. That game's soon to be free, right, or cheap, and it's a good 2 to 3 or 3 hours. about, and you'll learn everything you need to know about MODOK.
Okay.
I
All right.
guess. Yeah. He's not wrong. It's a
That'll work.
weird looking MODOK though in that game, but sure. But yeah, no, it's yeah, we keep saying MODOK, and I apologize for not explaining to you. MODOK is a weird character that it looks like Humpty Dumpty turned into a villain, basically. More so than Egghead. And um and yeah, the rumor is I mean, I don't know if we're spoiling or not, but the rumor is that MODOK in the MCU will actually be Darren Cross, who we last saw get sucked into the quantum realm at the
Yeah.
end of the first Ant-Man movie. So he's been super deformed and turned into that in the quantum realm. We'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
Who knows?
Wait, Ricky knows, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a picture on deck if you want to show it.
Well, since
Well,
you brought
let's-
it up, I was looking up people from the movie, and I can't think of his name. Oh, Corey Stoll, who plays
Darren Cross.
Cross.
Yeah.
He's got a credit in Quantumania, but I mean, it could be a flashback, could be anything, but he's got a credit for it.
Or he could be as MODOK.
Yep. You know, Dennis Ryder.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, I know we're jumping the gun, but I wouldn't mind. Like, you know, I know they take a lot of liberties with the MCU, like versions of characters and stuff. And honestly, like I felt like he got done dirty the way the Red Skull got done dirty at the end of Captain America, right? Where like the villain just goes off and disappears, and like, did he die or is he just like on deck for something?
That's
10
called
years-
efficient
10 years
writing.
later? Yeah, but it's not at the time. At the time, it's like that's a really gross, lame way to like send out your villain. But anyways, I don't want to get to that quite yet because we got time. We gotta breathe. We gotta let it breathe. We gotta hang out with Coke for a little bit. There was no more news besides that?
No more news.
What about the news? I read recently that Wakanda Forever is the most streamed Disney Plus premiere Marvel movie to date.
That is a fact.
Was it like
I don't know.
1 billion to 1 or something
I
like
don't
that?
think they put out a number, right?
No, I don't think
They'll never put out a streaming number, but
yeah.
who would have guessed Wakanda Forever doing well on Disney Plus?
Yeah. Also, Disney is laying off 7,000 employees.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
Yeah.
Layoffs are kind of the thing now.
They are quite the
Seems to
thing
be
right now.
hitting every.
They're in vogue.
Yeah, Hasbro did it a few weeks ago too. Lots of big companies are doing that, and it's pretty gross. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
But you know, we're not employees of them, so we can just keep doing whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
Keep watching Wakanda Forever.
Do you, Coke? Are you interested in doing a round of Q&A?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. I'm always down for TNA.
No. That's
What?
on the soapbox, sir.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess I'll do this too then. Sure.
Yeah. So we got something prepared for you. So here we go. From across the interwebs,
Okay.
some questions that people want to know have been sent in. They're mostly for Coke, but everybody's welcome to answer as well. So here we go. The first comes from at Harrison Board. How many new characters we got?
Is this somebody who knows me? Because that's a scary
How
question.
many?
All right, so I'm opening up D&D Beyond right now, clicking
Oh,
on my
God.
characters, and I'm a subscriber, so I can have an unlimited number, but I have now. You got to understand, this includes some duplicates. Sometimes when I'm going to level up, I'll make a copy of my character and then I'll experiment.
You
And then
scum save your D&D characters?
I do. I usually delete them. So but sometimes I don't. Some of these are duplicates, but I currently have 161 characters in D&D Beyond.
You know what? I got a follow up to that because I think the context needs to be added.
Sure.
Mr. Coke, when did
Yes.
you start playing D&D in your life?
Why you gotta bring that up, man? Why you gotta bring that up? Can I give you the history first?
Sure, please do.
Okay.
Please do.
So when I was in 7th grade, a guy I went to school with, Ron Riley, rest in peace, he passed away a few years ago. He tried to get me to come by and play some D&D. So I said, hey, let's do it. I'd always heard about it, was always interested in it. So ended up going over to his house. We went down to the basement. Everything was set up. He and some other fellas got into a big argument. The game fell apart. Never happened. I did not play D&D after that. Fast forward a few decades, and I was working at Rockstar San Diego. Some people said, hey, we want to get a game together. Let's play some D&D. And I said, I want to try it. Ron had actually passed away not too long before, and it was kind of like, man, I'm feeling this, little tribute to my man too. So I jumped in and played my first game of D&D in late 2018. So it's just been a couple of years that I've been playing.
And you have 161 characters.
It's like 5 years.
Making characters is fun, dude. It's so fun.
I'm not going to shame you, Go. That's a reasonable
I'm
amount
not
of time.
Shaming you. I'm just like,
wow.
I think I'm in awe.
It's a trip.
I feel like you unlocked a part of you that you didn't know you needed in life. And
that's for sure. I assumed that I was going to enjoy it. I had the books and stuff before I played. I read through the basic guides and a few of the supplemental books, and I thought this seems cool. But then when I actually played, it was like, oh, I'm hooked. I can't not play this. And then when I left Rockstar, there was a gap again. I went to another job, and a group started up there, and then COVID hit. It's like, oh man, come on. But then we started playing online, and that has kind of saved my sanity, because I as silly as it sounds, I can't imagine not playing D&D. I just can't not imagine. I can't imagine not playing.
That's awesome.
Who's this Harrison person, and why they get all up on business? Damn it! Stop criticizing me. Stop character shaming.
I don't know that they criticize you. All right, here's another one. Ricky, how many characters you got, by the way?
Just 2.
Nice.
Just 2.
Would you ever have a third?
Join me.
Oh no. I feel like I'm still very early on in my D&D journey, so we can we'll see.
Definitely two different sides of ends of the spectrum there on the enthusiasm.
What about you, Dennis? How many you got? What you got?
Probably, like, if I can count, I could probably count them on one hand or two hands, maybe.
Wow.
Probably.
You guys are making me feel out of control, but
yeah, you're definitely out of control. That's not the debate.
Just the ones I've played, like I could probably. It's probably like 6, probably like 6 or 7. Yeah.
Wow.
So you got to understand, I don't make them the way you make them. I make them when I'm told it's time to make a character.
Yeah.
And all right, cool. I'll make one, and then I just kind of figure out who that character is as I go. Because
I make them when a TV show is over, and I have some free time.
Yeah, that's fun. That's how you're supposed to do it.
There you go. All right, little support. Thank you.
All right, next question. At 2Live Yoo-hoo, if you could have superpowers, what would they be, and would you use them for good or evil?
Yeah, I've given that one probably too much thought, and it's been difficult to come to a definitive answer. I don't think there is a definitive answer, but I'd probably go with invisibility, and I would use it. I would definitely use it for personal gain. I'm not even going to try to tell that lie, but I would also definitely do some Robin Hooding. So I would use it for good and not great, but certainly not evil, if that makes sense.
What
The
about
not
you,
great
Ricky?
would be doing it for myself. You know, I'd want to have my baller mansion and a few nice cars.
Good adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't do it to hurt people who didn't pretty clearly deserve to lose some things that would go to more deserving people.
What about you, Ricky?
Give me the looper power. Right? Jumper. Sorry, Jumper. Hayden Christensen's best movie. I just want to be able to teleport wherever, whenever. And just do it. I would steal a ton of money. And just go on escapades with my teleporting powers. And no one's going to stop me.
Not bad.
No
Good.
one's
Good. Do any evil with that?
Yeah, that's evil for sure. No one's gonna stop me is usually the thing somebody that's doing evil would say.
I mean, I'm just taking money. I feel like stealing money is like on the bottom of, like, I'll steal from a bank, right? That's like the equitable evil stealing. I'm not gonna go to like a charity and steal it. But if I run out, I might.
Fair enough.
Depends.
I've definitely gotten myself in trouble with the ladies before for saying invisibility. So instead, I'll just say mind control and just leave it at that.
That almost feels worse, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Just straight up telepathy.
I
think that would be excellent.
That's not a bad one.
Even just the ability to read people's thoughts would be good enough for me. Like,
oof,
yeah,
that's kind of scary because I think that's one of those superpowers. It's like, careful what you ask for, careful what you wish for, because people are going to let you down a lot.
Yeah. Realize how many races of people there are.
Nah, I already know. Speaking of which, next question. No, I'm just kidding. At Optimus Crime 87, what's your favorite Incredible Shrinking story?
Incredible Shrinking story. I could make a joke about getting out of the swimming pool, but I won't. And that wouldn't be my favorite story. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, there aren't very many of them.
I feel like there are.
Are there?
I feel like there's a lot more than you think of.
Throw something at me.
Thumbelina is another one, right? Like the what is it? What about like the Secret Life of Arietti or something like that? That's like what is that?
Does Toy Story count as a shrinking story? I mean, because it's all from their perspective.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't discount Toy Story, but Toy Story is definitely more of a toys coming to life story. But I feel like there's a lot more than like I feel like it's a trope enough that when Ant-Man came out, I had a very set notion of what I wanted to see in that movie, right? Like I think that's how iconic that kind of genre of storytelling is. And I know a lot of them are most famous for like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah. But
there are Inner Space. There's I think we were saying the Incredible Shrinking Woman before the show is another one. Yeah. God, I feel like there's more. There's I know that Miyazaki movie is all about like these little people. I mean, Fraggle Rock is kind of a weird one too, right?
There's an episode of Jimmy Neutron where they shrink into.
There's an episode of every cartoon where that happens, for sure. There's an episode of Batman Brave and the Bold where they have to go inside of somebody's body, just like Inner Space, and you get to learn. I mean, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think of the ones that I know, the ones that come to mind, that I'm most familiar with. I enjoyed Honey I Shrunk the Kids when it came out for what it was. It was more of a family film, but it's more modern, and I don't think that's why I prefer it. But I would probably have to choose Ant-Man just because it's a lot more of my kind of humor. It is just a silly, fun ride. A lot of goofy stuff in it. A lot of characters that I really, really enjoy, and I suppose that's the easiest answer, but it is legit for a lot of reasons.
What do you think about like Gulliver's Travels?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Is that a shrinking story or a shrunken story?
It's the reverse.
There's a bunch of people that are tiny in it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think if you're giving that one, you got to give Toy Story in.
Sure. I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, it's called Arrietty. Or it's based on The Borrowers. That's the one I was talking about earlier.
Not familiar.
The Downsizing was mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, haven't seen that.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
They get shrunk? When do they get...
Yeah, one of them get Mike TV.
Yeah, he gets shrunk. Yep.
Mike
yep,
TV.
Yep.
Yeah. They say they're gonna fix him.
Yeah, all those kids died.
Fantastic Voyage, which is actually what I think Inner Space is based off of.
Okay.
It's a U.S. It's a submarine crew that is shrunken down to microscopic size and placed inside of a comatose scientist's body to destroy a blood clot and survive him or revive him. Yeah, I feel like it's just the Honey I Shrunk the Kids went hard on it though, right?
Yeah.
Indian in the Cupboard. There's a lot of little alive people.
I do remember that.
And I do understand that if we do that one, we have to allow.
Yeah, if we're going down this route, Small Soldiers or Toy Soldiers.
You're just all about the toys.
Yeah, that was a great movie. And no, yeah, hands down the best one.
Wait, Small Soldiers is hands down the best one.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're looping that genre into this question, yes, I love Small Soldiers.
You love Small Soldiers.
I love that movie a lot.
That is a terrible movie.
That
movie is just Gremlins
on multiple occasions
repackaged as a worse movie that's actually directed or not directed. It's like I think it's written by the same people who wrote Gremlins.
I've looked into purchasing one of the prop toys. And then I found a guy on Etsy that makes like replicas of the toys based on molds of the props. And I really want them.
Wow.
That's
serious.
That's how far down the Small Soldier rabbit hole I'm down.
Well, you know what? I liked Coker's answer the best because it tees up the next thing that we're here to talk about. So we're just going to ignore Ricky's. And for the sake of it, I'll just say, yeah, Ant-Man as well. I agree. Now, I really do have a special place in my heart for Inner Space, but I haven't watched it in a long time. So I'm kind of excited to rewatch that one sometime soon. Maybe next week, in fact. But yeah, I think Ant-Man is definitely one of the stronger ones. If other than Honey I Shrunk the Kids, probably, right? So why don't we talk about Ant-Man? Because we didn't task everybody with talking about Honey I Shrunk the Kids this week. So why don't we do this? Let's go.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. Let's do this. I wish we had like the little promos that Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd did where they just play the spoons and stuff like that. Yeah. We've waited long enough. It's time to put a spotlight on Ant-Man. The movie's from 2015, so we ain't really spoiling anything. But if for some reason you haven't watched Ant-Man yet and you're excited to...
You're slipping.
Yeah, you're slipping pretty hard. But I'm just going to give some really quick summary of this to catch everybody up. Armed with a super suit with the astonishing ability to shrink in scale, but increase in strength or debatable, cat burglar Scott Lang must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, pull off a plan that will save the world eventually. So Ant-Man is based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, Scott Lang and Hank Pym. It is the 12th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film was directed by Peyton Reed from a screenplay by the writing teams of Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish. And then when those guys ended up leaving the production, it was handed over actually to Adam McKay and Paul Rudd. Adam McKay, you might know from like The Big Short and Cheney, and
Don't look up.
a lot of other movies that
Great.
win Oscars and stuff like that. He's a pretty he's also did The Other Guys, which is just one of the best movies
A
ever
classic.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's got Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll, Bobby Cannavale, Michael Pena, T.I., Anthony Mackie, Judy Greer, and probably my favorite, Abby Ryder Forston. But also David Dasmalchian. I can never say his name. Is that correct? Dasmalchian.
Dashmoush something shim. Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I have other fun facts on this one, but I just kind of want to open it up to you guys. What was it like to go back and rewatch Ant-Man?
Ricky?
I loved it. I really did. I think this movie did a lot more heavy lifting than we gave it credit for at the time. And it's a solid. I think it mixes it's a very contained story, but there's just enough hooks into the bigger world at B that it makes it, I think, a very complete MCU film.
I think what you were saying is actually part of the Edgar Wright of it all is that he wanted this movie to be completely just independent of everything else, and he didn't actually want any of the hooks in there at all. In fact, he asked Marvel. He actually started developing this movie. I
This is
think
pre-MCU.
2003
Yeah.
is when he started help writing and stuff, and then they started casting it in, like, I think 2006. They were working on this movie for a long time, but so he actually asked when the MCU started picking up steam, he asked Marvel if they could please just not feature Ant-Man and the Wasp anywhere else before he got to do his movie. And I think that's a big reason why people were fans of the Avengers were always kind of weirded out when the Avengers finally came together and there was no Ant-Man and the Wasp. Instead, there was Hawkeye and Black Widow. And because the original Avengers are Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man, and the Wasp.
I did not know that.
Not even Captain America is an original Avenger. So yeah, so it was kind of like, a lot of people that aren't in the know were just kind of like, oh my god, they're making an Ant-Man movie. But you got to remember, by like this is movie 12, right? Marvel fans were pretty entitled and were like, where the hell's Ant-Man?
Well, this was also cooking for a minute. There was multiple Comic-Cons where Edgar Wright was there showing like previs or test footage
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Very like just conceptual shorts featuring it. So it wasn't like a secret that Ant-Man was coming.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like this win.
Exactly. And then apparently I read in a fun fact that Paul Rudd actually tried to buy the rights of Ant-Man from Marvel many, many years ago because he wanted to make a movie of Ant-Man. So that's kind of interesting that, like, both, like, there's you have some people involved in this movie that really felt a strong passion towards this character and wanting to see Ant-Man get done. And I thought that's a really cool thing that comes through in that movie. There's a lot of love in that movie. And honestly, there's some things in that movie, like the science of that movie breaks almost instantly. But what's so great about the movie is as soon as the science broke, I just reminded myself how much fun I was having watching this movie. And I said, I don't care. I don't care.
I mean, the science broke in the comics, like, right? It wasn't.
I mean,
they were never consistent with like what he can and can't do, or the reason behind it.
Comics, you can rewrite the science as things go, right? To retcon, you can retcon. But like this movie had the benefit of hindsight, right? This movie had the entire Marvel history, like under its belt as a reference point, and yet they still blow the science in the first minute of it, right? Like they tell you that the Pym particles have the ability to shrink the distance between atoms, and then so something can maintain its density or maintain its mass, but increase its density and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And so, but then you see in that first scene where he shrinks, when Scott Lang shrinks into the tub, he jumps out of the tub, lands on tile, and he breaks the tile. The tile actually chips when he lands on it, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, oh, okay, so he still maintains his weight, but he's the size of a needle, right? So a needle coming down that weighs like 150, 180 pounds, whatever, is going to do that to tile, right? Then in the same scene, he goes and falls into a vent and lands in the floor below on top of a record and does nothing
Right.
to the record at all.
Well, that's just movie magic. It wouldn't be a good movie if he just broke a bunch of shit.
And then likewise, then you see this fun little keychain that Hank Pym
Yeah.
has through the whole movie that's a
Yep.
tank that weighs absolutely nothing until it's actually a tank. And then there's a Thomas the Tank Engine that is just a tiny little plastic toy, but as soon as it's enlarged, it breaks the side of the house open and stuff. And so you just have to accept it's funny. It's funny. It's all in the service of comedy, and there's also a lot of fun ants, and I think the ant stuff is a fun. I think they actually do more with the ants, like that is more like more learning, more kind of like, hey, I forgot when I watched this movie, I was like, I forgot about the ants because
This is the most Ant-Man movie of all of Ant-Man movies.
right,
They
exactly.
were a cool character.
They dropped
were-
the ants in Wasp early, and then they don't really show up past that point.
No, the wasp, the Ant-Man and the Wasp has a lot of ants in them too.
But they're just like background ants.
No,
Yeah.
they help them through the whole movie.
Okay.
They do. I sadly rewatched both movies today, and when I watched both movies, I was like, what the hell's with all the other Avengers movies where there's zero ants? There's like no ants in any of those movies, and it was just kind of it's a detriment to Ant-Man that we don't get to see all these ants. But oh man, the de-aging.
That would look good. That holds up.
You know what? Because of this scene, I went back and watched Peter Cushing in Rogue One, and wow! I mean, I'm sure it was different technology. They probably captured Michael Douglas doing his lines and then just modified it. I'm guessing, but there's a world of difference between this and what they did with Cushing.
Well, the difference was Peter Cushing was dead, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm assuming they had a live actor for this that they modified, or
you have a body double.
No, it was actually Michael Douglas.
That's what I assumed. Yeah,
it was Michael Douglas, but they put dots all over his face, and he was quite amazed in interviews with how this turned out because it was him. He felt like he was looking at himself from *Romancing the Stone* all over again.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And I think, yeah, Marvel has definitely had some fun with the de-aging. But I think the opening scene of Ant-Man is one of the most excessive uses of it. They play with some aging on all the characters in the first scene. So Michael Douglas gets de-aged. He was, I think, 70 years old at the time he filmed that movie. He gets de-aged down to like a 40-something-year-old man. Martin Donovan, who was the bad guy trying to buy the Yellow Jacket, also got de-aged. And meanwhile, you got Haley Atwell, who plays Peggy Carter. They had to age her up to be an older version of the character. And then you have John Slattery playing the old version of Howard Stark, because there are like multiple actors that have played Howard Stark, and they brought him back for the role. So it's just like a let's just cram all the different age people.
Was such that opening scene really does a lot of the heavy lifting. Like
it really does.
Because Hank Pym is a very big part of the Marvel universe, not the MCU, but just Marvel as a whole. He's a very big player. So I think that scene just really aids with the MCU in establishing like a legacy. Like, Iron Man wasn't the first one, and I know Captain America kind of did his bit too, but there's a whole in between there where there's other players, on the field, and it's just kind of cool to see them all. That's the only scene, really, one of the only scenes we have with Hank Pym and Howard Stark, right?
I think it's the only scene we have with Hank Pym.
So it's just to get those two players on the board, and it's just that built-in history that you get when doing scenes like that.
Yeah. So fun fact for Coke, because I'm sure you don't know. So in the comics, the original Ant-Man is Hank Pym. And he was the one that was the Avengers and with Wasp, and the Wasp in the comics was Janet Van Dyne. But what they chose to do is, because there's an awkward period in the comics where there's a miscommunication between the writer of this particular issue and the artist, and the writer wanted Hank Pym to kind of like storm out of a room after arguing with the Avengers, and the artist kind of always I saw an interview with him where it's basically like the artist had kind of come from a school of thought of like, whenever you're drawing something, go as big as you possibly can. So in the scene that he drew, he had Hank storming out of the room while slapping Janet across the face, like, and knocking her to the ground, right? And so what happened was he got sent back. The editors missed it until it was actually already printed. And so the comic went out with, completely changing everyone's opinion of who Hank Pym was as a person. He's now a wife beater, right? Like, he's a wife beater, and there's really no retconning that, as hard as they may try.
Nah, you can't take that back.
But in fairness, though, like, I also kind of dig that they didn't take it back, because, like, hey, those kind of people exist in this world. And so, like, it's kind of nice whenever you think somebody that's heroic can have these crazy flaws and stuff like that. And the character himself has been dragged through the mud for decades because of that. And so I think Marvel, when they were coming up with who they want to play the main Ant-Man, they decided it would be better to just leave the history of Hank behind and have Scott be the focal point, which Scott became the newer Ant-Man in the comics, who has a similar background to Paul Rudd's, who is a criminal who stumbles upon this suit and stuff. And I think it's a really cool way to, like Ricky was saying, to have this history in the MCU that we don't necessarily know all about, right? But let's hope that this Hank never actually just, slap Janet around just for the hell of it.
Yeah, that's a rough one, man. I mean, it's one thing to, if your history is you went to prison for, taking money from people who were scamming people and redistributing it. But wow, beating your wife that's nasty.
Yeah. So, but with Paul Rudd's version of this character, you got best case scenario, right? He's adorable. He's funny. He's got a really instant hook, right? Where he is, like, what makes him different from all the rest of the Marvel heroes? At the time, he's the first one with a kid. When this movie came out,
I didn't even think about that.
He was the first superhero with a kid in the Marvel universe. And man, that kid is so adorable.
Oh, she's a doll.
She is so adorable. I'm so mad that they had to recast her, twice. But I'm so mad that I understand why they had to recast her in Avengers. But it's kind of weird that they had to recast her again for this movie coming out next week. She, like, just Peanut, just every time he calls her Peanut, my heart just breaks, because it's just it's such a cute little thing. And he just, you can just tell how much he adores her at that age, and he doesn't want her to ever grow up. And so my heart really breaks in that moment in Endgame when he goes back to see his daughter, and she's a full-grown teenager,
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
he just missed it. He missed it all, like but that's, we're getting ahead. We're of this movie. In this movie, it just does a really good job of cementing that there's nothing that this guy won't do to make his daughter proud of him. It's not just about providing for his daughter. It's about giving his daughter a person that she can look up to that isn't her mom's boyfriend.
Well, you know what? I wanna backtrack to what you said about us jumping too far ahead, just to throw this out there because I found it interesting. In this film, he's talking to his ex-wife about his heartache over missing so much time with his daughter, and then once the dusting happens, he misses so much time with his daughter. It's like
It's
a recurring
foreshadowing.
theme with him.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
There's a lot of foreshadowing in these movies. Like in the second movie, he's having a moment with Cassie, and she's saying, how she thinks it's so cool that her dad's Ant-Man, because obviously she knows by the end of the movie. But she, she wants to grow up and be his sidekick. That's what she wants to do, and like here we are, 2023, and we're finally going to get that moment, and it's going to be cool, because this is a character that the comic book fans have been looking forward to, because the Young Avengers were a comic that came out in early 2000s, and it was they were all legacy characters, and Cassie Lang was a big founding member of that. But comics like to do the thing where there's just like, oh hey, look, there's teenagers that you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
You didn't even know about. They're just there. Nobody wants to watch babies raised in comic books. That's
Right.
so
right.
you just instantly plant kids in there. But like, I think the cool thing about the MCU is at the very least with Cassie, we got to see her grow up. At different stages, and that girl missing her front teeth, I'll be damned if that doesn't sell the whole damn movie the whole time. Like,
Yeah, that was perfect.
she's just so cute, and
Yeah.
she just really, she had my heart almost as much as Antony.
Fair enough.
The ants in that movie were, I like, on the rewatch, I kind of felt like they were the stars. Like, I love Paul Rudd, and I love Luis. I love Michael Pena playing Luis. Those are both really great roles. But the ants are freaking awesome in this movie.
They were super cool, and I mean, they really kind of did the bulk of the heavy lifting. They enabled that team to do everything they did.
They did all the work, and
Yeah.
it was so cool. Like,
And they all died.
a lot of them.
Yeah,
died.
yeah.
A lot of them died.
A lot of them went out. That's for sure.
A lot of them died, but the only one that matters is the adorable flying carpenter ant named Antony that gets shot by Darren Cross. That's a good shot, by the way.
That was
to
impressive.
Shoot an ant flying in the air. That's wow.
Well, and a very
Wow.
specific one in a gigantic swarm coming out of a building at a helicopter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Movie magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of glossed over it before, but the premise of this movie is Darren Cross is basically doing the same bit as Jeff Bridges did in Iron Man, right? He's taken over the company, and he wants to do evil, horrible things to make lots and lots of money. He wants to sell the technology of shrinking to create super soldiers that will just go and revolutionize, combat in the global arena. And Hank wants nothing to do with this. He doesn't want his technology being used for this way. So Hank goes and secretly recruits this burglar by luring him to burgle his home. Right. It's a little bit of a reach, the lengths that he went to get him to believe.
That was a smooth system of working the grapevine, baby. Wow.
Right. Yeah. But it did create for a great scene with Michael Pena where he's
One of the
explaining
best.
how he got the intel that there's an old guy with a safe that's probably got lots of cool stuff in it. And then
That's all you
once
need to
they
know.
yeah, and then once they meet up, then he makes it very clear what the problem is, and he needs Scott to be Ant-Man because for reasons not quite thoroughly explained, Hank has been Ant-Man too many times, and so he can't put on the suit anymore. But we also learn that Hank has a daughter who's infiltrating the company, and she very, very much wants to wear the suit, but he won't let her do it, and it's because he has trauma, right? He has trauma that he lost his wife because he let her put on the suit. He lost her to the quantum realm, which, in the second movie, it's really hilarious because Ant-Man mentions a few times, like, you guys just like putting quantum at the beginning of words, don't you?
And now we have Quantumania.
Exactly. The prophecy is fulfilled. But yeah, it's really a heist movie, and I think that's what sets it apart from a lot of the Marvel movies, right? Is like the premise starts off similar to Iron Man, but it turns into a heist movie, and you got Ti, you got David Dastmalchian, and you got Michael Pena, like round out the crew of people that he needs to help break into cross technologies and not only steal the suit, but also destroy all data of it. And they need a bunch of ants to help them get in there as well. And I think along the way, Bobby Cannavale and the guy that's from Winning Time, and I think he's also from The Wire, are like two cops that are, I don't know, for some reason trying to chase Paul Rudd because they're kind of dicks.
Because he broke out of jail.
Sure, I guess.
Well, and he's also baby daddy.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
But I do like that this character, Bobby Cannavale, like starts out as like, are you an asshole or are you cool? I can't tell. But by the end of the movie, he seems cool with it all.
I thought it was a pretty healthy step-parent relationship.
It was.
In the grand scheme of things. It's not something you typically see on screen.
Yeah. But so there's a lot of really cool supporting characters. Some definitely get fleshed out more than others. I feel like this movie was stacked with too many people to ever give enough attention to. Like I think David Dastmalchian, I had no idea how amazing he was until I saw him in Suicide Squad like 2 years ago. Or was it last year? I can't even remember.
It
was 2 years ago.
2, I think.
Yeah, because Peacemaker was last year.
Yeah,
2 years ago. And I was like, this guy was so wasted in these Ant-Man movies.
Yeah, he's Kurt, the computer guy?
Yeah, he plays Kurt, the computer guy, and he's just got a funny Russian accent, and he talks about Baba Yaga a few times in the second movie, but that's really it. Like he doesn't get to do anything. Ti is Dave, and I don't really know anything else about Dave. Like,
and I think that's part of what made him a great character.
Yeah, you don't need to know more. It's Ti.
Yep.
We got a movie with T.I. and Michael Douglas.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I'm not a fan of T.I. In fact, I don't care for him at all. I don't know his music. I'm not into him. I'm just something about him bugs me. But I love his character. I really love the character. And I think it's in part because he was just this strange dude that was part of the crew. And that just made me really dig him. I didn't need to know more. I didn't want to know more. I mean, like from his very intro, like, who are you? I'm Dave. That was it. That was his whole backstory. That was his whole reason for being there. I'm Dave. It was great. Just silly.
That's fair. But that said, Ricky, you do have a picture up of a bigger guest appearance that was
the Falcon. Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie has an entire scene as the Falcon. At one point in the movie, while they're assembling all the things they need to get this heist underway, they're like, "But we need a special part." It's a special part that's like collecting dust in an old factory in upstate New York, and that's all you get. And then next thing you know, it's or not a factory, a warehouse, and next thing you know, it's the Avengers compound, and Ant-Man has to infiltrate it, and uh, much to his bad luck, he ends up coming across the only Avenger that has goggles that allow him to see Ant-Man
Yeah.
all the time. Every time he can see him, and it's really weird. I was like, why doesn't everybody in the Avengers wear these goggles?
It was
It's
cool though
amazing.
because we saw him
Falcon and the
in
Winter, or sorry, Winter Captain America Winter Soldier is the first time we see him.
we saw him in Winter Soldier, and then his next appearance was in Age of Ultron for a bit.
Age of Ultron comes after this, or no, it comes before this movie. You're
Comes
right.
before this
You're
movie,
right.
yeah. So
Yeah,
this is the first time we get to see him as an Avenger in the costume. Like I don't recall he doesn't get this costume until the end of Age of Ultron.
you're right. He's in the last scene of Age of Ultron wearing a
Yeah.
costume.
So we get to see the Avenger Falcon. I thought that was really cool. It's like I think maybe was he the lowest common Avenger available at the time? Probably. But just to get one of them,
He's definitely the least dangerous Avenger that Ant-Man could go up against. That's for sure. Like Ant-Man versus Scarlet Witch would not be a good matchup for sure. Or Ant-Man versus Vision would not end well for Ant-Man. So this is a friendly one. I read that Peyton Reed and Paul Rudd, I think, or maybe Adam McKay and Paul Rudd were just really big fans of the character Falcon in the Civil War movie, and so they're the ones that reached out to Marvel to see if they could use him. So this is actually a scene that wasn't Marvel's idea, although Marvel does like having the hooks, so they're of course going to say, yes, definitely put this in here, which flies in the face of something that Edgar Rice was trying not to have in his movie. Edgar Wright. So I actually really like this movie or this scene. I thought it's where he started calling him Tic Tac, and I was wrong. I think the Tic Tac name comes later, right, in Civil War.
Comes to War.
Yeah. But it's an adorable scene. Coke, what was your?
I really love that scene. Kind of, to me, it kind of it underlines sort of the innocence of Scott Lang, because he's not some big
Hi,
badass.
I'm Scott.
Exactly. Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a big fan. He even says it's just silly fun, and it's definitely showing him as just a regular dude who got thrust into this position, and now he's trying to make the best of it. I just felt like it was a good kind of reinforcement of Scott Lang as a genuine good guy trying to do the right thing at any cost. It was a very, very good scene.
Yeah, and I think that sentiment is carried over in the second movie, or in Civil War, right? Like where he's just so honored to be asked to go help Captain America, fight in Germany. Like he doesn't really even take time to ask questions about like, is this right? Is this wrong? He
Play on that
right
too, though, right? Because that's the whole premise of Ant-Man and the Wasp is like he's now on house arrest because of that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And in that movie, the Wasp is actually upset at him because he did that, jeopardizing everything that they built, and without even thinking about how that impacts the people around him and stuff. And so that's a recurring thread that Scott Lang has going on in the MCU. And I think the seeds are all planted here in this movie, like because he even in this movie, like he's trying to figure out, like how to keep his daughter safe while still choosing to be Ant-Man, and those two things kind of come in direct conflict because you find out that the bad guy is so bad that he actually just knows where his daughter lives, and like that's just super gross. Like whenever the bad guy just knows where your daughter lives, it's never going to end well, So
yeah, it was like the one of Peter Parker's big fears coming true. He had to keep Spider-Man's secret because he didn't want his family and his loved ones to be at risk, and then here goes Scott Lang, like, oh shit, my family, my loved ones are at risk.
Yeah.
It's a horrible position to be in.
What do you think about the Wasp, or sorry, aka Hope Van Dyne?
I was torn on the way they presented that aspect of the story. I mean, the way they explained it, when Hank got sort of booted from his company by Cross, Hank and Hope were
She's
at
the one who
odds
voted
with
him out.
Yeah, they were at odds with each other. But then she saw what Cross was doing, taking the company in a bad direction, and then she kind of came back into the good graces of her dad, and they worked it out. But it just felt weird to me that she was still. I mean, they played it up like she and Cross were kind of maybe a romantic thing. And was that still going? I don't know that. I mean, they didn't show it directly, but it felt that way to me. And then it was kind of like, would it have really been that easy to pull the wool over his eyes that she's actively working with her dad? And
well, he shows
I didn't mind it.
It wasn't.
It was a good dynamic.
It just struck me as odd that Hank is super smart. She seems to be super smart, and together, and they go through the great bulk of the movie just thinking, yeah, we're doing all this stuff on the down low, and we're going to pull off this crazy plan with these weird dudes. And then he just goes, yeah, I knew what you were doing. I know Scott Lang. I know he's got another suit. He just kind of blew their whole spot up, and it felt like they should have been smarter than that. I don't know. That one just kind of rubbed. But it's again, when you don't want to, you got to suspend your disbelief when you're watching movies, and that's one of those things where it's like, I enjoyed it when I was watching it, but when I sit back and analyze, I go, that one kind of is a little off.
I mean, for me, it was when Yellow Jacket was showing his tech in the very first presentation, where he has like this shield images of Ant-Man, like the top secret photos.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, this dude knows like what's going on, and he's like, was it all true, Hank? He's like, no. It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
But I liked Hope. I really like Evangeline Lilly a lot, though, as Hope.
I like Evangeline Lilly. I don't think that character was very likable in the first movie. I think she's getting more and more likable as time goes on. I agree with Coker. Like, it was a little confusing what she was putting out there. I didn't feel the romantic tension between her and Scott. So I was kind of like, I knew the movie wanted me to feel that, but I didn't find it believable. It just felt like, are you just hooking up because you're what's there with each other? Like you're both what's available.
Yeah.
But also, I know it's a nitpick. I couldn't stand her hair. Like, it just it's obviously was a wig.
Right. I mean, that's the look.
It was just a wig, man. It just looked like a wig. Like, it just looked like a terrible wig.
The look. I'm happy that she has short hair in the new movie. I want my Wasp with short hair, damn it. That's the way the comics intended.
I liked her hair in the second movie too, where it's just naturally long hair. I just don't. I wasn't buying that weird cut that they were rocking in it.
I think the short is very practical if you're a helmeted character.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, the medium length that she has in that movie with the sharpness.
Like a ponytail, though.
What?
Oh, in this movie?
Yeah, in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a weird look. It just was reading to me as way more comic booky than I needed it to be. Like, it just didn't feel like it was of its time. She did
look like a character rather than like a person.
She looked like a cartoon, right?
She did look very cartoony. Yep.
Yeah, and that was throwing me off because everybody else looked like real people in that movie, and I think that's what was really cool about it. Like you were saying, like, Dave is just Dave, like, yeah. I definitely wasn't sitting there thinking, man, that's T.I. This is so weird. No, I was like, okay, he's just Dave. He wasn't trying to outshine everybody else. And I just felt like her hair was trying to, like, say something. And I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. Also, that stupid black leather jacket that Darren Cross was wearing when he came to the house, that was a terrible, terrible
That's fine.
jacket.
That's fine. I
But
didn't
I'm
mind it.
okay with it because he's the bad guy and he can dress poorly. Like
He does. He looked fine.
it was
I'll
a bad
say
jacket.
the
It was bad.
unsung character of this movie was San Francisco. We don't really. This is the aside from Iron Man, seeing the West Coast in the MCU is not a thing that exists. So it's
I
nice
don't
to
know.
see.
I disagree.
I
Shang-Chi?
like them having the movie set in San Francisco.
Oh, I mean, I like it there, but I
Yeah.
mean, this is like one of 4 movies set in San Francisco now. Like,
In the MCU?
yeah.
Shang-Chi was in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, I'm
Shang-Chi
saying,
started
but
there.
we're talking when this movie came out, though.
Oh, yeah. At
Oh,
the time,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. At
Yeah.
the time,
Uh,
it's a different world, or different area aside from New York or
or
whatever.
Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely opening it up. It's weird to me how many Marvel movies now have been in San Francisco
What is it? It's Ant-Man and Shang-Chi, right?
and Black Panther.
When do they go to San Francisco? They go to Oakland at the end.
Mhm.
That's a different.
isn't there more? It's been a while since I've seen the Ant-Man and the Wasp. Isn't there more San Francisco in that movie?
A lot more.
That's
A
what I
lot.
thought.
Yeah, they end up like at Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah,
and
they
shit.
end up
Yeah,
at Fisherman's
yeah.
Wharf at the end, and it's a little excessive.
I was in San Francisco while they were filming Shang-Chi. Fun fact.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Saw them do the bus.
If I could backtrack just a little bit to Hope, one of the things that I did like about that character was I didn't especially care for her early in the movie. I just didn't like her attitude. It kind of starts out with her being crappy to her dad. Would it kill you to call me dad? And they did a good job of showing her resentment. And then Hank mentions to Scott that her mother was killed in a plane crash, and Hope says, "When are you going to stop telling me that lie?" And then it's a little heavy-handed, but they do show her just kind of breaking down when Hank finally does tell the truth of what happened to her mom.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of cool that she mentions, when my mom died, he disappeared for 2 weeks. And Scott's going, yeah, well, he was in mourning. She said, well, so was I. And then she finds out, oh my God, you were trying to get my mom back. I thought that was a really cool kind of turn for her. And for me, that was where I went, okay, I kind of didn't like her, but now I'm cool with her.
Yeah, and so I think that's why I like her more in the second movie, is because she's come to terms with that, and now the whole premise of the second movie is let's get mom back, right? And
Right.
it's kind of a boring movie because that's the entire premise of the movie is let's get Michelle Pfeiffer into the MCU as soon as we possibly can. But I do appreciate that she had to go through that journey in this movie. So I don't mind that she's cold through most of the movie because of that scene. It's a really good scene, and it's a great scene for Michael Douglas too, because like it makes him not the wife beater, like that's great.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's also, it goes back to that legacy thing, right? Like shit, we were in a world now where Ant-Man and the Wasp were a thing for a minute.
They were a thing for a long time in like the 60s or 70s or something like that. Yeah, it's a really cool thing to have the Marvel universe like filled out in the timeline a little bit more, and know that there's probably more superheroes than just them that were operating through Shield, right? So yeah, that's a really fun thing. By the way, like we talked about this before, like Edgar Wright, this was his baby, this movie, for a long time. I think you're probably familiar with Edgar Wright's other stuff, like he did Shaun of the Dead, all the other Simon Pegg movies. He did Scott Pilgrim. I'm trying to remember other things. Baby Driver. I think Baby Driver is the movie he went and did when this one got taken, or when he left this one.
No,
right?
it wasn't the Baby Driver.
I thought he left this one and then went and did Baby Driver, which is another heist movie.
We could be wrong.
Yeah, but anyways, he was. I just found this really funny. Like he was asked if he ever watched this movie or finished or the finished product, and he said his response to that is like, it would be kind of like asking me, do you want to watch your ex-girlfriend have sex?
Oh wow, that's a hell of an analogy.
Yeah. So super awkward. He left the production citing creative differences with Disney, who had taken over. So I guess when he started working on this movie, it was before Disney had ever bought Marvel. And I think by the time they were actually full on in the middle of getting ready to make this movie.
Yeah, they weren't in production, but I remember
he cast most of the actors.
Yeah,
for the
it was
movie.
cast, and I want to say it was at Comic-Con like that week when he pulled out. If I'm not mistaken, that was I totally recall that being the talk of that time, whereas the movie was about to start filming, and yeah, they had everyone lined up, but he backed out at that moment.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Peyton Reed was just like already such a giant fan of Marvel that he did not even mind one bit getting somebody else's scraps. Like he jumped at the opportunity when offered the chance to take over for a director, and he loved it, and he was like, I would do another one, and there he went and he did the second one, and now he did the third one also, right? He's
Yeah.
doing so hey, good job, Peyton Reed, for putting out 3 movies. I will say though, I think it's very noticeable if anybody watching ever does go and decide to revisit Ant-Man, which I highly recommend. It's a great movie. It's aged very well in like knowing all the things
Definitely.
we know now in the MCU. To go back and watch this one, it really still stands the test of time. Does the Luis gimmick hit as hard as it did the first time I ever watched it? No. You see it coming a mile away, and it's charming though. It is funny.
You know what? I seldom laugh out loud when I'm watching TV and movies, but it got me again. I just thought it was wonderful, man. It's
the
just
2
so
times
well
they
done.
do it in this movie are so good.
Yes,
But
Yes.
perfect.
the 4 times they do it in the next one are not.
The second movie, they only do it once. They
Is it
only do it
once?
once, but it's really long, and it's with all the main characters.
I
Like
thought
they
it's
do
with
it.
the Morrissey bit though, right? Is that part
Yeah.
of it? Okay.
But it's once. It's just once in the second movie. Yeah.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same. But what I was gonna say is like, if you're considering going back, definitely rewatch this one. It's a great movie. I definitely don't recommend the second one as strongly. So go find the Marvel Legends, like little short clips that they make on Disney Plus that'll catch you up for the next movie. That's probably all you need for Ant-Man and the Wasp to really know what's going on. But yeah, this first movie, I mean, the Baskin Robbins stuff, I completely forgot about Baskin Robbins.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
They always find out,
Kill
man.
me.
Yeah,
That's just great. Great.
that shit,
But
that
you know,
shit was good.
that scene that just kind of underscores, like, I feel like they were just, and I actually took some notes too. I felt like the entire film was like a celebration of the awkward situation, in so
Yeah.
many ways.
That's
That
fair.
the Baskin Robbins thing, they found out about his past. He has to go sit there with the boss. The dude's loving him. He's like, "Oh, that's so cool," and I got to fire you.
That felt like very Edgar Wright. Like,
Yeah.
there's definitely bits of that movie that, like, oh, you can definitely tell where.
Well, they still gave him writing credits for
Yeah,
the
no,
movie
for
too,
sure.
so,
Oh, that's cool.
So, his name is all over the credits. So like it wasn't like they didn't want him to do it. It's just for whatever reason he just couldn't stay on. But I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? I
Baskin
think
Robbins.
no, I mean I do love the Baskin Robbins thing. I will say this movie got me excited more to see the third one because I really want to see how this Paul Rudd adventure comes to an end, because I really do think that this movie coming out next week is the last installment for Paul Rudd. It just feels that way to me, and I'm not sure. I'm not like, I could be wrong.
I think we'll get one more. I'll
Do you think
say
so?
I think one of the weakest parts of this movie, and it's due circumstance, is when he does go into the quantum realm at the end of it. I kind of wish he just would have blipped out and blipped back in, as opposed to kind of start showing what it was. Because it's a very, I think, very different quantum realm than what we're getting now.
They show it again in the second movie. It's the same
Yeah,
exact.
the second one's very, very much so like fleshed out though when they
No,
go
but
back in.
when they go back, they show you all the same things that he saw in the first one again. Like it is the same. It's the same in both movies. It's just then he goes further in the second movie. And so I don't mind because like they basically showed you it's kind of like that Doctor Strange journey through the astral realm, like how you just go and you just see a bunch of Jack Kirby inspired like craziness. It's the same in both movies. So there is a visual consistency that they do. And I think they'll do the same thing again in the third movie, and I'll be fine with it. It's just you keep going. Like the further and further you go, then you end up on the weird planet where Janet's hanging out, like, but you have to keep going. But that moment where they're just floating in like the blackness and there's the weird fractals like spinning around and stuff like that, that's not quite there. It's a little further. So I don't mind that they showed us the trippiness, because I think we would have been robbed if we didn't get to see trippy stuff. You know what I mean? Like I think you threaten, you tell people don't don't break the regulator, because you'll go subatomic and you'll end up in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
You don't give that person that loaded gun and then not pull the trigger in the same movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like it. I think if you're in the Edgar Wright version of the film, yeah, you don't do that. But these movies don't exist on their own, right? Like I very much expect like Quantumania to not be an ending, but rather a beginning of wherever we're going with Kang. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think we already got the beginning of that with Loki. You know what I mean? Like I think you watched all of Loki, right, Coke?
I did, and I was trying to remember. Was that the introduction to the introduction of Kang into the?
It was the introduction of a version of Kang, so it's a variant.
Where did he first show up in the MCU?
There.
That is.
Oh, okay,
that
was when he showed.
But
Okay,
he's not the Kang that we're gonna get next week. We're gonna get a different version of him because that one died at the end of Loki, right?
okay.
And he's the one that's supposedly been trying to keep the fabric of time all together to prevent other versions of him from doing the bad things. So we're gonna get a other version of him next week.
Same
I think
actor though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all
Yes.
same
Okay.
person, just different
Yeah.
universes.
Okay.
That's kind of Kang's whole thing. Is like he's a major Avengers villain in the comics, but there's a bunch of him. Like there's a bunch of Kangs that have
Gotcha.
come
Okay.
from different periods in time and have tried different time travel-y conquests and stuff like that. But I really did appreciate that in the first movie they do mention the quantum realm. They show the quantum realm, and they also mention like time travel in that first movie. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. I didn't realize they actually talk about these kind of things. They kind of plant the seeds there so that it's not out of the realm of like reasonable that the saving, the Hail Mary that the Avengers pull in Endgame is let's do time travel, and so like I get it. I get they were always building up to it. It's just time travel is a really weird, messy thing, and so we'll see how it works. We'll see.
Speaking of messy things, when was Ant-Man introduced in the comics? Like what year ish? Was he around in the 60s?
Tales to Astonish. I don't remember what number, but it was definitely in the 60s. Yeah, late.
Okay, so here's a problem I'm having with Ant-Man, old and new, I suppose. Whenever it happened, first of all, his costume is garbage, which I think is actually kind of endearing. I think his costume looks like crap, But I think it's kind of cool because Scott Lang's not a fancy dude. He doesn't need a fancy suit. However,
well, and he didn't make the suit either.
Yeah, true that. But one thing that just bugs the crap out of me is, hey, I'm going to have something to drink. Allow me to pick it up. Oh, snap. Click. I've hit the button that's right there in my freaking hand where I hold things. That is just such poor design. It's like anytime he grabs something or pulls something, click, I'm hitting the button. Oh, click. I did it with my other hand. That is horrible placement of the thing that does your super thing. It just bugged me and I had to say it. Sorry.
I do appreciate that, like, there's been an evolution of his suit, though, and that, like, in the first movie, it's a full-on helmet that he has to take off and hold. But just like every other superhero in the MCU, they've gotten those retracting helmets throughout the years, So like now he has a helmet that just completely goes and hides in the back of his neck or whatever. But yeah, I feel you. The giant buttons are definitely a 60s era nod, right? Like they're trying to do something funny with that. I do have some quick questions for you before we go, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Well, no, I asked you some of them. I asked you about the Evangeline's hair, and we talked about Baskin Robbins for a minute. But I guess it's just a really quick would you rather, because I know in Ant-Man 1 we never got to see him go big, right? Like they were kind of saving that for Civil War. But it was the logical thing. We're like, well, why does the other button not work? Like until he's small.
Yeah.
Would you rather be able to shrink like Ant-Man in the first movie, or grow to giant man size in Civil War?
Oh, shrink 100%.
Yeah, shrink. Being big sucks.
Yeah, I mean, shrinking you can still get to it. Granted, it's more difficult, but you can still get to the places that everybody else can go.
Mm-hmm.
You get that big, you can't be on a plane, you can't be in a building, you can't be a hell of a lot of places. So yeah, I would definitely go with the shrinking tech.
Yeah, and you can't pull off the Thanos maneuver if you're big, right?
No.
Fair enough.
Do you guys have any other things? You said you had notes. Do you have anything else you wanted to mention about this movie before we end?
I mean, I just wrote down some, like the Baskin Robbins thing. I made a note of that was classic, but just as far as awkward situations, they started off gold. When Scott gets out of prison, he gets in the car with Luis. He said, "Hey man, how's your girl?" Like, "Oh, she left me, and my mom died, and my dad got deported." It's like, Jesus, man, how freaking
But
weird.
it sets up Luis, right?
But
As
I got
this,
to keep the van.
overly optimistic character. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, just stuff like that from the get go. And I just wrote some random stuff. Hey, I got a master's in electrical engineering. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be fine. And it's like they cut directly to welcome to Baskin Robbins.
I read that Michael Pena actually based his character off of a friend of his that did do time in prison and actually does talk really fast like that.
I love
it.
It
was he had inspiration.
There was stuff in there that was just awkward and also freaking hilarious. I loved the back and forth, the brief back and forth between the former SHIELD guy who was working with Hydros, Mitchell Carson was the character's name, and he saw Pym and said, "How's retirement?" And Pym was, "How's your face?" After he had punched the crap out of him. Loved it.
Like 30 years ago, right? Yeah.
Yep. I liked when Scott told his ex-wife, "Your fiance is an asshat," and then she said, she clapped back on it. "Well, at least you're not a crook." It's like, oh my God. I love the ugly doll, the hideous doll that he gave his daughter, but she loved it. That was great. Again, that just kind of reinforced first of all, the ridiculous cuteness of that kid, but just the love that she had for her dad, despite the bad feelings that he had about missing the time with her. That was great.
And the love that he has for her, that he would know that she would like that thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was like a perfect.
Like they have this whole insider almost relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. I chuckled when the first time he went small and Luis was dropping his pants to get in the shower. He's like, "I don't want to see that," and then boom, he's gone. That was great. I like this kind of struggle between Hope wanting to wear the suit and her dad not wanting her to, but her dad wants to also, but he can't. One thing that did puzzle me though was Hank mentioned he would like to wear the suit, but he can't because it's had an effect on him over time.
It's taking a toll, right?
Right. And then there's the scene when Cross is about to shoot Hank, and Hope jumps in and she says, "That's not you. It's the particles affecting your brain chemistry." And then the next stuff happens. But nobody ever expresses concern for Scott.
He's expendable, right?
Yeah, he's the expendable.
I took that though as like the Hank's just old.
I took it as like that's why Hank didn't want to put his daughter in the suit, right? Like he's willing to risk the life of this guy.
Yeah, that kind of bothers me. Bothers me.
Sure. Let it bother you. That's fine. I get it.
Another thing that I thought was kind of messed up, but character appropriate was I was really tripping on why the hell is Cross shooting up this helicopter in flight with laser. First he started with a gun, bam, 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 just shooting all over the place, and then he puts on the yellow jacket suit and is firing lasers through this thing and
murdering everybody.
Or he's already far gone, right? I would start using that suit.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got that he was using the suit, but then I was going, that's idiotic because he's killing everybody and he's in the cell. But then I realized later, number one, well, he's just a maniacal piece of crap and he doesn't care. But number two, he could fly also.
Yes, he can
fly. That didn't hit me at the time. I was thinking he's going to kill himself. Oh wait, he can fly and nobody else on the helicopter can, so he doesn't care. I could go on. I thought it was funny that when the gang got involved in the situation with Pym, and Louise said, "Yeah, it's not too often you break into a place and then you get invited back." That just cracked me up. They're in the briefcase. "I'm going to disintegrate you." Playing Disintegration by The Cure. Hilarious.
I know, right? That part was funny. I was hoping you would mention that.
Yeah.
By the way, Ricky, I forgot to mention that that quote from Edgar Wright about watching your girlfriend have sex. That was actually on while he was promoting Baby Driver, which was the movie that came out after Ant-Man. But yes, the Disintegration by The Cure was a nice touch.
That was money.
There was just a lot of fun little jokes in there, but I didn't feel like they felt the need to like count how many jokes there were in the movie. There was a lot of natural feeling ones that happened throughout the story. Fun, weird fact. Apparently on the day that they filmed the sequence of Cross shrinking the lamb, I guess when the crew broke for lunch, the caterer just so happened to serve lamb chops that day.
Wow.
And the cast and crew apparently said that was a really awkward meal. So weird.
I'd eat it.
I mean, so would I. Lamb is delicious as hell. But I can see how that would be weird to be working on the set with the animal wrangler and stuff. That is.
Yeah, that had to be kind of strange. And that lamb was very cute.
It was very cute.
One thing that I did find cool about this movie was I've heard people critical of Paul Rudd because I've heard people say he's a one-trick pony. He's the same guy in every movie, but I just think
he's the same in every movie.
He definitely does that since like '95 when he started. But I just think he's got a very kind of endearing personality that works. And here's a factoid, or a couple of factoids for you guys. Paul Rudd grew up in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Coker grew up in Kansas. Paul Rudd, graduate of the University of Kansas and a Jayhawk. That's my alma mater, baby. And Paul Rudd voted sexiest man alive. I was not. Anyway, next.
Well, you still got time, right?
I'm working on it.
Paul Rudd was 82 when he got voted sexiest man alive.
True that.
He's clearly made a deal with the devil.
Man, he's a good-looking fellow.
He has never changed the way he's looked in all of film.
It's amazing.
Ever since he started. It's so weird. I mean, unless we count Clueless. At Clueless, he was clearly a young person in that movie.
Yeah.
He's a
But ever
vampire.
since, what's that?
He's a vampire.
Yeah, he is a vampire. And
Yeah, I mean, there's that scene where he's got his shirt off and he's cleaning himself up after sparring with Hope, and he was pretty deep into his 40s, I think, when that movie was made, and I think he was probably way more ripped than he was in Clueless.
I read that they actually had to go and tailor the suit because he got a little bit more muscular than they had intended for him to get. So they had to they softened the suit up to make it look less muscly, because that's not quite what they were going for Ant-Man, but he just wanted to have a superhero body for that movie, and
go boy,
props to him.
Him and Kumail, when they go hard.
Oh man, for sure. But yeah, no, I love this movie. I could talk about all the tiny little things that just entertain me about it through the whole time. But it's a fun story. It's definitely I definitely think I liked it more seeing it after all these years.
Yeah.
And comparing it to all the other Marvel movies that we got, I think at the time when it came out, I was just like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's funny. It's really funny and stuff like that. But I feel like it's no Iron Man. But I feel like now going back and watching it, I'm like, I think it's a more well-rounded movie than a lot of other Marvel movies.
I think for Marvel, up until this point, everything was getting bigger. And this, I think, really showed them and showed them that you can make a smaller and cheaper movie, but if done correctly, can still have the same kind of punch.
I don't know if it was cheaper than a lot of Marvel movies, because there's a lot of crazy special effects going on in this movie, but it was definitely a smaller scale as far as like set pieces. You know what I mean? Like giant battles and action sequences were maybe not as important to this movie as let's do really weird miniaturization stuff, because like the miniaturization stuff was really cool, and it did make me feel like I was a kid again watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or some of those other movies, that we
movie cost $130 million.
Oof.
That's not cheap, man. That's not cheap.
In comparison,
what did Iron Man cost?
Well, that's pre. You want to pick a post movie?
What do you mean? I'm just
like
saying.
Up until this point, Iron Man. Let's see. Let me pull up the list.
First Iron Man.
Iron Man cost 140.
Whoa! Wow.
There you go.
So it's cheaper.
Yeah, I mean by 10 million, but like I said, they're not going around and blowing up tanks and stuff in this movie. That was a real tank they used, by the way, in the movie.
That tank did get bigger.
That tank was on loan from Mikhail Gorbachev, actually.
From the pizza commercial?
And it's currently being used in Ukraine.
Oh.
No, it was a weird thing, but he donated it to America as like to a museum, a military museum, as like a show of good faith. And they're like, yeah, you want to use it in this Ant-Man movie? Because we don't give a shit.
Wow. I think they foreshadowed that scene, because didn't Scott pick that up when he first broke into the house?
Yes.
Yeah.
The keys. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, cool. I think we got to wrap this up because we've been talking too long about Ant-Man, and I want to end this and switch over to talk about whatever we want on the soapbox. So I got to say thanks to Coke and Ricky for nerding out with me today. I think we're going to be back next week to discuss some more superhero news. We are not going to be spoiling Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania next week because we want to give people time. I know that breaks Ricky's heart. But we will be back to talk about something else. I'm trying to convince him that we should watch Inner Space. We'll see. We'll see if that's what we do. But yeah, thanks, Coke. If you got anything you want to plug or you want people to find you anywhere, let us know.
No, man, I don't. I'm not super active on social media or anything. But sincere thanks for kind of putting this movie back on my radar. It was one of those that I don't really think about a lot. I might just randomly pick it up at some point if I'm feeling a Marvel marathon coming on. But I hadn't seen it in a while, and it's a thoroughly enjoyable movie to watch again. Really, really good one. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I had a blast watching this one. All right. Well, thanks to our patrons for supporting our growth and to our audience for tuning in. If you had fun, please remember to like and subscribe and check us out on Patreon for our after show, The Soapbox, starting moments from now. I think that's it, Ricky. See you next time on Den Excelsior, True Believers. Enough said.
Bye, guys.